Many thanks for joining us live on News Now on TV360 Nigeria. We begin with the sad news that the body of the missing retired Major General Idris Alkali has been found in Gutret in Shen, just south local government area of Plateau State. The leader of the Operation Search and Rescue, Brigadier General Omar Mohammed, says a parade and a befitting burial will be held for the former Chief of Administration at the Nigerian Army Headquarters. Retired Major General Idris Alkali had been declared missing since September 3, 2018, on his way from Abuja to Bauchi en route Jos. The Nigerian Army announced he was killed by a group of angry youth in Duradu district, just south local government area of Plateau State, on the day of his disappearance. Now in Kaduna, a bit of normalcy has returned to the state after the government partially lifted a 24-hour curfew. Residents are now free to move around from 5 a.m. to 6 p.m. and President Muhammadu Buhari has also been in the state to meet with stakeholders, religious and traditional rulers. Our crew has been in the state to monitor the president's visit and see how residents are reacting to government's efforts to stop the killings.
The calm after the storm. Residents of Kaduna State are now free to move around, but things have not always been like this in the past 2 weeks. The state government had at 2 different occasions imposed a 24-hour curfew in Kaduna metropolis and 4 other communities after more than 55 people, including a traditional ruler, were killed in the state. The government has now relaxed that curfew, allowing residents in the affected communities to move around between 5 a.m. and 6 p.m. With activities slowly returning back to normal, one resident is positive things will change for the better.
Things have returned back to normal. People are rushing to buy food in large quantities, though I don't know, maybe because they feel maybe in case. But I believe that everybody is even smiling.
Some residents are, however, less optimistic.
Kaduna has been a state is a very fragile state when it comes to issue of conflicts. On the part of government, I think the main issue has not been tackled as far as I'm concerned, because I don't see reason why Kaduna should be coming back to this same situation that we've gone past way back. And there are a lot of development that intends to come into the state, but with this, I'm afraid they've really drawn the state backward.
You cannot run away with that fear, because even as we are, you can see the number of vehicles that used to move around are not up to that number. So I want to believe there's that fear. I know the curfew is still going on by 5. So by 4 o'clock, you see people will start moving down back to their houses. So I want to tell you that fear is still there, except the situation is fully brought under control.
To provide more assurance, President Muhammadu Buhari has been in the state to meet with the stakeholders, traditional rulers and religious leaders. At this meeting, President Buhari assures that his government will ensure those responsible for the killings are brought to justice.
I am appealing to the Nigerian police and the judiciary. The Nigerian police are in the front line of securing communities. The judiciary will just sit there unless investigations are credible and prosecution rapidly done. There is nothing they can do. From now onwards, the Nigerian police will better watch it. I'm going to watch you closer.
Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai also uses the opportunity to reassure his commitments to the security of lives and properties.
By boosting security assets, improving the pace of prosecutions, and strengthening the justice delivery system, the Kaduna State Government will surely be making our state safer. But our communities have to enlist in the coalition for peace. Beyond boots on the ground, a phalanx of security agents and expeditious delivery of justice, the ultimate guarantee of peaceful coexistence is the willingness of individuals and our communities to exercise mutual tolerance and live in peace.
The police have now arrested 93 suspects in connections with the killing. 43 of the arrested suspects are expected to be charged to court immediately. while the other 50 are still under investigation. Adeshewa Odushaga, TV360, Nigeria.
The Nigerian police force has arrested 400 members of the Islamic movement of Nigeria for disturbing public peace, law and order in the Federal Capital Territory. The police have also accused the group of burning a police vehicle in the capital city. Police spokesman Jima Mashood in a statement says members of the group were arrested with 31 bottles of petrol bombs and other dangerous weapons. They will be charged with terrorism under the Terrorism Prevention Amendment Act 2013. The Inspector General of Police, Ibrahim Idris, has now directed the commissioners of police in states where Shiites are present to move into red alert to prevent the group from causing breakdown of law and order. Idris also says police will liaise with religious leaders to find effective ways to deal with the threats posed by the group.
What we are going to obviously liaise with major stakeholders, liaise with the major religious leaders in this country. And I think there is need for us to sit down and address these threats that these people have been posing to the entire security of this country.
President Muhammadu Buhari has inaugurated the 2019 Armed Forces Remembrance Emblem and Appeal Fund. He made a donation of 10 million naira on behalf of the federal government at the event held at Council Chamber of the Presidential Villa, Abuja, shortly before the commencement of the weekly meeting of the Federal Executive Council.
In line with the provisions of the Enabling Act, the Nigerian Legion established the Nigerian Legion Corps of Commissioners. This outfit is involved in provision of security services to government, corporate, and private entities. Before launching the emblem, I wish to call on all Nigerians and others resident in Nigeria to procure and wear the emblems with pride, to identify with those who laid down their lives for peace and security of our fatherland. I encourage all to donate generously in support of our veterans and defendants of fallen heroes.
The Nigerian Labour Congress is heading for a face-off with not just the federal government but state governors as well. The union has now rejected the 22,500 naira minimum wage offered by the Nigerian Governors Forum. They are insisting on the 30,000 naira agreed and are also threatening to return to the initial demand of 66,000 naira. Now, Oyin Adekunle has the details.
The face-off started on Tuesday morning as Labour leaders stayed true to their words by holding major protests across all the states, including Lagos and Abuja. Hours after that protest, Nigerian governors met in Abuja to review their initial 20,000 naira offer. After discussions, Chairman of the Nigerian Governors Forum, Abdulaziz Yari, told newsmen governors agreed to raise their offer to 22,500 naira.
Section 3 of the National Salary Income and Wages Commission Act provided that the Commission shall recommend a proposition of income growth which should be initiated for wage increase, and also examine the salary structure in public and private sector with the reasonable futures of relatively and maximum level which are in concerns with the national economy. It is in this sense that we feel strongly that acceptable minimum wage must be done in a manner that the total personnel costs does not exceed 50% of the total revenue available to each state. Governors therefore agree to pay a national minimum wage of 22,500 naira only.
A day after the governor's pronouncement, Labour leaders called this press conference, restating their stance on the minimum wage offer.
I want to reiterate, just as the neck of NLC have actually pronounced that without making sure that the issue of the minimum wage of 30,000 which was mutually agreed through a well-known process of collective bargaining, accepted and also put into law, certainly the action that had been proposed for the 6th of October, November, a national industrial action will actually take necessary steps to give effect to that.
Waba maintained that Labour will still embark on a strike action from November 6 if their demands are not adhered to.
The official demand of organized labour is 66,500, which we have reiterated and which from all indices now we are going to revert back to it. The issue of 30,000 was a compromise position that was agreed at the tripartite negotiating table. It wasn't the demand of Labour, it wasn't a figure imposed by Labour, it was mutually agreed at the conclusion of the meeting of the tripartite negotiating committee on the 5th of October this year. And therefore, this is the stand of Labour, this is the stand of organized labour. Minimum wage is not an allocation. It's not a unilateral award. It is negotiated. And therefore, the known process of arriving at figure is a tripartite negotiation. And therefore, I think the figure that have come out from the Governors Forum, I think it's a mere pronouncement. And therefore, it has no place, it has no basis in the collective bargaining machinery as provided by the various ILO conventions and also our national laws.
Nigeria's current minimum wage is 18,000 naira. Some Labour leaders have threatened to boycott the 2019 general election if that figure is not changed before the polls. Oyin Adekunle, TV360, Nigeria.
Now, no fewer than 141 Nigerians, including 11 pregnant women, have voluntarily returned from Libya to Nigeria with the assistance of the International Organization for Migration and the European Union. The Chief Planning Officer, National Emergency Management Agency, Segun Afolayan, says the returnees arrived at the cargo wing of the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos, at about 10:45 p.m. on Tuesday aboard a chartered Al Burak aircraft with registration number UZ189. He also says that after profiling, there were 71 female adults, 3 female children, and 3 female infants. He also says the majority of the returnees are from Tripoli, the capital of Libya, which has become volatile in recent times. Now, Senator Ademola Adeleke has been granted bail by a federal high court in Abuja. The senator is standing trial alongside 4 others on alleged examination malpractice. He has denied the charges and was granted bail on self-recognition, but ordered to return his international passport.
Well, there is the normal procedure for arraignment when you bring a criminal charge against defendants. So we call it arraignment, where the plea will be taken to find out whether they are guilty or not guilty, which has taken place today. And then the court granted bail to the first defendant of self-recognizance, and those terms that were added. These are the preliminary steps, and thereafter, the matter has been adjourned for hearing till December 2018. That's the summary of the proceeding today.
The last time the matter came up, it was adjourned on the ground that the senator was not feeling fine. So the court now, on health ground, it was adjourned today for arraignment. So, and today he was in court, and the charges were read today, and are pleaded not guilty. So we have applied for a date to commence our trial. And so the court has given us 3 days, that's 3 consecutive days in December, to try the matter. So on those dates, we will produce our witnesses to prove our case against the 5 of them, the 5 accused and 5 defendants.
President Muhammadu Buhari has appealed to aggrieved members of the All Progressives Congress not to leave the party after they failed to win in their respective primary elections. The aggrieved aspirants told newsmen the president asked them to be patient, remain with the party and work for its success during the 2019 election. Senior Special Assistant to the President on National Assembly Matters, Ita Enang, also said the aspirants pledged to work for the success of the party in next year's election.
I contested for the position of Senate Niger East Zone B senatorial district in Niger State. And the purpose of our meeting with Mr. President is to show our grievances, to show our anger, and not only showing the anger alone, to also call his attention to the reality on ground, to the reality about our party, to the reality about what is going on in our various states, local government, wards, and units. That is the main reason that we come to sit with Mr. President here. We took a lot here with Mr. President. One is patience. Two is never give up. Three is we should stay put to be sure we maintain our relationship with our various constituency. We maintain our relationship individually with the people in our constituency, and not to take our personal anger against our party.
I think this is one of the greatest steps that has been taken by the leadership of this government, His Excellency Mr. President and the party, to bring every person aggrieved in every direction together, so that we will now go into the elections as one united party. And I think it is a lot of disappointment for the other political parties who thought that they will benefit if the crisis or if the disaffection of the aspirants went far. But the aspirants have held themselves together, and they have pledged between themselves on their behalf and on behalf of all those who are not here.
News Now returns in just a moment. Do stay with us.
In the last 3 years, we have built a multi-purpose center, which is the envy of all in our constituency. And I can tell you that the people who are living there are already enjoying it.
Guy, do you think what this man just said is true? See, I seriously doubt. I'm sure it's one of those that are silly lies.
And wait, do you know there's a way to find out if these things he's saying is true or not? This is the Construct app. It gives people like us a sure way to track implementation of constituency projects. It gives valid and verified information on location of projects, amounts allocated, amount funded, the level of job done, and even the profiles of concerned legislators. You and I can post directly on this app.
Are you serious?
This is the Go-To app if you want to know how our Commonwealth is being expanded by the government.
Wow. Let's even see if what this man said is true. Show me.
The Construct app is developed by Other Paper Nigeria with support from USAID and is available on both Google Play Store and Apple Store.
And it's true.
Of course, I told you.
You're welcome back. We have Esther Vese here for Business News. Hello, Esther.
Hi, Aneta.
So the Nigeria as a country is actually the second largest producer of leather in Africa, and that's just after Kenya. But the irony here is that the country imports a large amount of leather every year, and of course this is due to a variety of factors like poor innovation, research and development of leather in Nigeria. Well, at the recently held FEC meeting, what was the government's resolution to solve this issue?
Now, the Federal Executive Council has approved a new policy guideline to boost Nigeria's leather industry. The Minister of Science and Technology, Ogonaya Onu, says the new policy will place less emphasis on consumption of leather, but focus on hide and skin products for export as raw materials or finished products.
Council approved the leather and leather products policy for our dear nation. By this policy, we will now harness our leather resources in a manner that instead of exporting raw leather or semi-finished leather, we will now be in the position we want to prepare our nation so that we'll be in the position to finish our leather in terms of processing it into finished leather, and then use that leather in the production of finished leather products.
In other news, the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC) says it has made 7.15 billion naira as trading surplus in the month of June. However, that's lower than the 18.12 billion naira made in May. Now, the corporation disclosed this on its June edition of the monthly financial report. The version was the 35th edition of the financial report of the corporation. Now, according to the report, the corporation has developed 12 key business focus areas, buffer, to grow the business and increase profitability for the benefits of Nigerians. It noted that the business focus area had contributed to consistency in trading surplus of the corporation since February this year. It named the 12 key business areas to include security, new business models, joint venture cash calls, production and reserve growth, NPDC growth, and also gas development. Meanwhile, the global oil climbed for the first time in 3 days on Wednesday, but rising supply and fears over the outlook for demand amid the US-China trade war kept pressure on the market. Brent crude futures were at $75.09 a barrel, while US crude futures advanced 28 cents to $66.46 a barrel. Now, both crude benchmarks have fallen about $10 a barrel from 4-year highs reached in the first week of October and on track to post their worst monthly performance since July 2016. And now we're going to take a quick look at the trading session at the NSE for today. Well, despite the struggle between the bulls and the bears to see who retains dominance in the markets, the NSE closed today's trading session with a 2.12% decline in key market indicators, as we see the market capitalization fell from its 12 trillion naira threshold to 11.852 trillion naira. On a gainers chart today, we have International Breweries and Air Service, both of their share prices rising by 10% actually, and Forte Oil and Owando PLC with almost 2% rise and Owando at almost 5% rise. But on a losers chart, we have Dangote Cement. Now, Dangote Cement is the biggest company on the Nigerian Stock Exchange, as in terms of the market capitalization. And we have Nigeria that is even bigger than Nigerian Breweries and Nestle. Also on the losers chart, we have Nigerian Breweries, Stanbic IBTC, and Guinness Nigeria PLC. I should add that Dangote Cement is responsible for most of the loss recorded in the industrial sector for today, and the industrial sector recorded the most loss in terms of sector for today's trading. Now, if we take a look at our top traders chart, we'll see it's dominated by the financial service sector. Banking, to be precise, that's Guarantee Trust Bank, Zenith Bank, First City Money Bank of Nigeria, and Fidelity Bank closed with a total value worth of their share prices coming in at over 50% of the total value of shares traded in the entire session, in today's session, and that's with over 200 million worth of shares. Over 200 million shares traded at over 3,000 deals. Now, if we take a quick look at the global stock market, we'll see we have a repeat of what we had yesterday in terms of what territory they closed in. Yesterday, they all closed in a positive territory, and today they're closing in the positive territory as well, with the London Stock Exchange closing with a 1.47% rise, the American Stock Exchange closing with a 1.91% rise, and Nikkei, the Asian Stock Exchange, at 2.16% rise. And there you go, that's what you have, Aneta.
Thank you very much, Esther. It's good to see that the FTSE is shining through after a very tough month. And something very interesting about the Dow Jones is that technical analysts have been saying that even though that the stock market actually rose by a few percent, that it actually is uninspiring.
Yeah.
But anyway, thanks for that update. I will check out news in sports and more after this break.
Corruption not in my country. How work?
Oh, correct, Oga.
What is it that you are doing?
Oga, they come out the part now. Make we go sell for.
Oga, na correct kuza be this so. Oga Titus and him boys them. They do am. They will come out the original parts, sell them, make plenty kuza. No wonder our customers bring the generator back to our workshop because they bad. And now because of stuff. Now because they overuse the generator. Plus say NEPA no they give them electricity.
Before I open my eye, Makachuku, look at my talk in the heaven. Replace this original generator parts back inside this generator of my customer. In short, before una do am, frog jump. One. Frog jump. 1, 2, 1. Stealing of generator parts or changing of original parts to a fake one. That is the corruption. Not in my country.
Corruption not in my country.
Stop corruption now.
Outside of Nigeria, South Sudan's rebel leader Riek Machar will return to the capital Juba to celebrate a peace deal on Wednesday, more than 2 years after he fled the country after the collapse of an earlier accord. Machar's office says he will hold joint peace celebrations with his longtime rival, President Salva Kiir, in Juba, though there were no immediate confirmation from the government. Now, the world's youngest nation, South Sudan, plunged into civil war in late 2013 when troops loyal to Kiir clashed with forces loyal to Machar, the former vice president. Ethnically charged fighting soon spread from the capital across the impoverished state, shutting down oil fields and forcing millions to flee while killing tens of thousands of people. Now, away from Africa, Austria is backing out of the United Nations Migration Pact over concerns it will blur the line between legal and illegal migration. The Global Compact for Safe, Orderly and Regular Migration was approved in July by all 193 member nations except the United States, which backed out last year. Vienna currently holds the rotating presidency of the European Union, and its decision to back out of the pact now further demonstrates the fraying of unity in the 28-nation bloc over the politically fraught issue of migration. Austria took in roughly 1% of its population in asylum seekers in 2015 during a migration crisis in which more than 1 million people traveled to Europe, many of them fleeing war and poverty in the Middle East, Africa and elsewhere. And in sports, Nigeria's coach Kenneth Ross says John Mikel Obi will decide when to return to the Super Eagles. The Tianjin-Teda midfielder has not featured for the 3-time African champions since captaining the country at the 2018 World Cup in Russia. Kenneth Ross recently released a 23-man squad for the African Cup of Nations qualifiers with South Africa on November 17 and a friendly tie against Uganda 3 days later, with the former Chelsea player omitted despite his involvement at his club over the weekend. However, the German tactician has explained that it was the wish of his skipper to be left out of the squad, although he hopes he returns for the AFCON tournament scheduled for Cameroon next year, provided they qualify. Now, the world governing body for football, FIFA, will increase the total number of teams to 48. That's from the present 32 in the 2026 World Cup. The possibility of expanding the number of teams at the 2022 World Cup in Qatar is still not ruled out. FIFA's president, Gianni Infantino, hinted this during his address at the Asian Football Confederation Annual Congress. Now, an expanded FIFA World Cup 2022 will see Asia's allocation rise from 4.5 places to 8.5. Qatar in 2010 was picked as the host nation for the 32-team World Cup in 2020. However, as FIFA is still considering to expand the number of participating teams further, it would require the cooperation of other countries in the region. And you're now up to date on the latest events around the world on TV360 Nigeria's News Now. I am Anetta Felix. Thank you for watching.